in Dodge City and in the territory on west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with the U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke.
Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal.
Chester. Chester. Chester, where are you?
Back here, Mr. Dillon.
Well, come on out.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon. As soon as I get my boots on.
Your boots on? What are you doing, sleeping?
No, sir. Just washing my feet.
Well, now, I hope you didn't have any plans for tonight.
What did you want me to do, Mr. Dillon?
Well, I want you to stay on Front Street for a few hours while I go up and have a totty with Big Kate. But if you're going to be busy...
No, sir,
well...
I haven't got anything to do. I'd be proud to stay here. Just look at the dust in that street. Uh-oh. Mr. Dillon?
Huh?
Looks like Major Randall from Fort Dodge crossing over here.
Ah. Open the door for him, Chester. Major will like that.
Come in, Major Randall. Come in, sir.
Marshal Dillon.
Hello, Major.
Marshal, I want to talk to you about last Saturday's affair.
Well, Saturday was a pretty lively day around here, Major. Which affair do you mean?
You surprised me, Marshal. 2 United States Army soldiers were murdered while driving a supply wagon from here to Fort Dodge. A government payroll was stolen, and you seem to have taken no interest in the matter.
Well, now, Major, protecting the Army isn't exactly...
The Army can protect itself, Marshal. That isn't the point at all.
Well, if that's true, Major, how come there were only 2 soldiers carrying your payroll? You got plenty of men out there and plenty of guns. Where were they?
On maneuvers.
On maneuvers?
In my command, Marshal, troops remain in garrison as little as possible.
Well, then you were asking for trouble, Major, knowing that there was a payroll coming in.
The arrival of the payroll was secret. Even the 2 men carrying it didn't know what it was.
Well, the word must have got out somehow.
It seems to me, Major, like somebody out at the fort must have told him.
There are no traitors in my command, Sheriff.
Major, I'm not a sheriff. You see, it's more
Never
like
mind. Marshal, I demand to know what you intend doing about this crime.
All right, I'll tell you, Major. Nothing.
What?
If I knew who did it, I'd make the arrest, but I don't, so there's nothing I can do.
I see. Well, Marshal, I regard this crime as a demonstration of your inability to control these Dodge City ruffians, and therefore I shall do it myself.
How's that, Major?
If no arrests are made in this matter, I'll give these bad men of yours a taste of martial law. We'll see how they like that.
I wouldn't try that, Major.
These streets will be patrolled 24 hours.
Now, listen to me, Major. You don't know these men. Sure, there are some bad ones here, but most of them are just wild. Free and wild. But you run the Army in here, and they'll all fight.
Let them.
You've been stationed at Fort Dodge 2 months now, haven't you, Major? How long you been out on the frontier?
This is my first tour, thank heaven.
Well, then I'd advise you to take it easy. You get to know the ways of this land.
You may save your advice, Marshal.
There'll be trouble, Major, bad trouble.
If necessary. Nonetheless, the Army will take over within the week, or before, if there are any more of these crimes committed against it. Good day, gentlemen.
My. You think he'll do it, Mr. Dillon?
Yeah, he made a mistake, and he's a hot-headed fool, Chester. You try it.
Well, can't you stop him?
I don't know. Well, I'll be at Big Kate's later on. You can find me there if you need me.
All right, Mr. Dillon.
Hey, Marshal, come here.
What is it, Shiloh?
There's talk of Dodge being run by the Army, Marshal.
So?
So I don't like it. I and most of the men around here got out back in 65. We've had all the Army we need.
Yeah, I know. But maybe things will work out.
And if they don't work out, which side you fighting on, Dillon? Where do you stand?
I'm hired to keep the peace, Shiloh, not to answer fool questions.
You calling me a fool? Well, say it.
No, you're drunk, Shiloh.
You saying I'm drunk, Marshal? Is that it?
All right, Shiloh, I'll show you how drunk you are. Now, when he comes around, tell him I took his gun. He can get it back in the morning. And if he objects to that, tell him to look me up and I'll throw him in jail.
Who is it?
It's Matt, Kate.
Well, come on in. Well, sit down, Matt. I'll fix your toddy.
Thank you, Kate.
You could thank me best by buying a drink at the bar downstairs once in a while.
Well, why should I? Get better whiskey for free up here.
At least you're honest. Well, what's in the wind, Marshal Dillon? Or did you just come up here because you're tired of sitting with your back to a wall?
You're right, Kate. It's the only place in Dodge where I can relax. That's probably just because you don't consider me worth killing.
How old am I, Matt?
Oh, what?
You heard me.
Well, I never thought much about it, Kate.
You sure didn't.
What are you getting at, anyway?
Just that if I was 20 years younger, you probably wouldn't come here at all.
No? And why?
Here's your toddy. Forget it.
Anything you say, Kate.
You know, Matt, you ought to get yourself a girl.
Oh, now, Kate, don't start
I mean
that,
it.
please.
Sure, somebody like, we'll say Connie Dell. There's a real pretty girl. A lot of fire,
Oh,
too.
you're sure a conniving old woman, Kate. You're just no good at all, you are.
You say worse than that. I told Connie she'd come up and have a drink with us the next time you showed.
Yeah, all right, Kate, if it pleases you.
It does. Connie! Now, there's fresh cigars in that box by your chair, Matt.
Well, now.
Had them brought in by the Santa Fe Railroad all the way from St. Louis.
Evening, Miss Kate.
Oh, come on in, Connie. I've corralled the marshal for you. Sit down, honey. I'll fix you a drink.
Don't let her talk bother you, Connie.
Well, I did ask to meet you, Marshal.
No? Why? Why'd you want to meet me?
Maybe just to see if you're really as cold and cruel as you seem downstairs.
And?
I can't tell yet. But I don't think you are.
Yeah, a profession like mine leaves its mark on a man.
There's always trouble of some kind, isn't there?
Most always.
Like this army business now.
Yeah.
Will it be bad, Marshal?
It could be.
Well, I'll figure it this way, Matt. The Major's in trouble, and he's trying to cover it up by threatening to take over Dodge.
Any more difficulties, and he will do it. Blasted greenwood.
Say, Connie, your corporal been in?
He left a while ago.
Well, what's he say? How'd the soldiers feel about all this?
Well, I don't think they want to mix it with all these gunmen and buffalo hunters and the like.
Yeah. The Major will wish he were back on maneuvers if it starts.
Maneuvers? So that's where they've all been. No wonder it's been so quiet. But that corporal of yours, Connie, how come he didn't go out?
He's not my corporal, Miss Kate. He's just a lonely kid.
All right. Seems like he spends more time here than at the fort. How does he manage that?
Oh, they made him a clerk, a sort of bookkeeper. This time's pretty much his own.
Uh-huh. Well, he's lucky. He's got a good, safe job, too.
Suppose it is. Well, I'd better get back. Now that we've met, Marshal, you might stop and buy me a drink next time you're here.
I'm afraid not, Connie.
No?
You're too distracting. I might get careless and shot at.
I take that as a compliment, Marshal.
It is.
Good night, Marshal. Thanks, Miss Kate.
Don't you mention it, honey. Well, Matt?
You said her name's Connie Dell, Kate. Where's she from?
I never ask the girls anything.
Yeah, maybe, but you always find out. Now, come on, tell me.
Hayes City, last.
Uh-huh. What's the name of this corporal who's been sniffing around?
Bowers, Corporal Bowers. Oh, here, let me sweeten that toddy for you.
All right.
You put me in mind of a man I knew back in Wichita.
Yeah?
He was the slipperiest, side-windingest, stubbornest man I ever
Evening, Mr. Dillon.
Everything quiet, Chester?
Yes, sir. But it's like everybody's holding his juice for the Army if it comes. It's quiet and mean, Mr. Dillon. That's it, just quiet and mean.
Yeah. All right, Chester, you can go to bed. I'll stay around for a little while longer.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
The first thing in the morning, I want you to go to the depot and have him send a message to the sheriff in Hayes City.
That'd be Mr. Hickok?
Yeah, ask Bill to send me all the information he can about a dance hall girl named Connie Dell. She left there about a month ago.
Connie Dell. I'll do it, Mr. Dillon.
And bring me the answer as soon as it comes in, huh?
Well, we ought to have it by tomorrow evening.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, good night, Chester.
Good night, Mr. Dillon. I got it from Mr. Hightower down at the railroad depot, Mr. Dillon. It come in at 7 o'clock.
Oh, good. Let me see it, Chester.
Here.
Connie Dell worked Golden Horn Bar here. Left about a month ago. A stranger called Billy Grounds. Nothing against girl, but believe Grounds a wild one. Has anybody shot you yet? Regards, Hickok.
What's up, Mr. Dillon?
Well, I don't know, Chester. I don't quite know. Look, you go over and ask Big Kate if she's heard anything about this Billy Grounds.
All right, Mr. Dillon.
Marshal,
What is it, Shiloh?
I want you to smell my gun. Here.
What?
And go on, smell it.
All right. It hasn't been fired. What are you worried about?
Well, I've been talking a lot lately, and a man was just shot out behind the Long Branch. A soldier.
Any witnesses to this? Well, who saw it?
I just heard the shot.
I want to know who killed this soldier.
Well, maybe nobody did see it, Marshal.
And maybe nobody cares much about it anyway. Just a soldier.
All right, you men, I'm going to tell you something. If I don't find who shot this man, the Army will move in here for sure.
Not the whole army, Marshal. They won't all move in.
Why not?
My shop's rifle can kill buffalo at 200 yards. I reckon it'll kill soldiers at 3.
Let me through here. Let me through there. Hello, Marshal. Well, what have we got this time? Soldier.
Yeah.
Well, he needs an autopsy just like anybody else. Where's the man that shot him? He get hurt, maybe?
Take a good look, Doc. He isn't even armed. This isn't a shooting. This is a murder.
Hey, you're right, Marshal. Oh, well, I'll get him up to my office. Here, now give me a hand, somebody.
You may have a better day tomorrow, Doc, but I hope I can spoil it for you. I'm riding out to Fort Dodge right now.
Well, Marshal, what brings you here?
Trouble, Major.
What sort of trouble?
Murder?
A soldier?
Yeah.
Who?
I don't know, some private.
Why haven't I been informed of this?
It just happened about an hour ago.
In Dodge City, of course.
In Dodge City.
Have you arrested the murderer?
Nobody saw it happen.
I see. Well, Marshal, you leave me no choice. I shall have
Now,
to...
hold it, Major. I didn't ride out here just to carry news for you. I want something from you.
From me, Marshal?
Yeah. I want you to keep all soldiers out of Dodge for the next 48 hours. Put it off limits.
That's not exactly what I had in mind, Marshal.
But you're going to do it anyway.
What?
Now, listen, Major. Dodge City's an armed camp. It's full of men who fought Indians, who fought the war between the states, and who fought each other ever since they could spit. They'll fight you next. And they'll make you hate it.
Marshal Dillon, I shall report your treasonable talk.
Report what you like, but stay out of Dodge. Now, I'll make you a deal, Major. Give me 48 hours, and I'll find your killers. You better take it.
All right. I want the criminals delivered here.
Sure, Major. And I might have to kill him to get him here. Hello, Doc. You drinking up the profits you made off of that soldier?
Hello, Marshal. The boy's name was Bone, according to the letter I found on him.
Uh-huh. Anything else?
Yes, dug a couple of slugs out of him. It's a funny thing, Marshal. I haven't happened on lead like that since '65.
What do you mean, Doc?
Well, I'd swear that boy was shot with a cavalry pistol.
I'll see you later, Doc.
And mind you, can't prove it. Not exactly, but I would swear.
Come in.
Hello, Kate. Did Chester see you?
He did.
Well?
Matt, I get my information through the girl. Some of it's true, some is bound to be just talk.
I'll weed it out.
Carney's been seen riding out at night toward the Arkansas down by Brandy Bend.
What for?
Well, I don't know. Could be this feller Billy Grounds.
Yeah.
His name's never been mentioned around here. My guess is he's never been in town.
Anything else?
One thing. Corporal Bowers and Connie went for a ride one night.
When?
Night before that payroll was robbed.
Figures. Where's Connie now?
Over at the Longhorn eating a steak.
It's kind of late for supper, isn't it?
She works late. Matt,
Yeah.
next girl I steer you into, I'll pull her fangs first.
No, thank you, Kate. I like them better this way. Good evening, Connie.
Well, this is a surprise, Marshal.
May I sit down?
Of course.
Thank you. You sure Corporal Bowers won't mind?
Don't be silly. Anyway, he's away at the fort.
Huh? What time do you leave, Connie?
I don't know, about 7, I think. Why?
Anyone with him?
Yeah, Private Bone. Marshal, you think Bowers shot him, is that it?
You know any reason why he would, Connie?
They were friends. They worked together in the bookkeeping office.
I see. Tell me, Connie, Bowers say much about his job there? Or what he does and all?
No, Marshal, he never talked about it.
Handled expenses for supplies and the like? Figured out the payroll?
I don't know.
Bowers would be in a good spot to know when to expect the payroll money in, wouldn't he? Even when it was kept a secret?
You'd have to ask him, Marshal. I don't know anything about the Army. But this isn't why you found me here, is it?
Of course not, Connie. I'm sorry. Hey, you look real pretty tonight.
Why, thank you, Marshal. You really mean it?
Sure. Sure I do.
I have to work late tonight, but I can get off tomorrow evening. Marshal, would you go for a ride with me? There'll be a moon.
Where would we ride to, Connie?
I don't know. Anywhere, maybe along the Arkansas. Oh, I know. Let's ride down toward Brandy Bend.
All right, Connie. We ride down to Brandy Bend.
You're all dressed up, Mr. Dillon. Are you going somewhere?
Yeah, after supper I am, Chester. Got me an engagement. Going riding with Connie Dell in the moonlight along the river.
Is she a nice girl, Mr. Dillon?
All girls are nice, Chester. Some fall in with bad company, that's all.
Yes, sir. Mr. Dillon,
Yeah,
who'd this one fall in with?
me?
Oh, now, Mr. Dillon, that's not so.
Then who'd you think, Chester? Well, come on, tell me.
Billy Grounds?
You don't give me much credit for romance, Chester.
No, sir.
Well, don't look so worried about it.
I was thinking, would you like me to follow you tonight, Indian style?
Thanks, Chester, but it wouldn't help. You see, I'm riding into an ambush. It'll be over fast. Real fast.
Well, all right, Mr. Dillon, if that's the way you want it.
That's the way it's got to be. And as soon as I leave, I want you to ride out to Fort Dodge and see the major.
Yes, sir. What about...
Tell him to arrest Corporal Bowers for the murder of Private Bone. I think Bone found out where the leak about that payroll money came from, and Bowers had to shut him up.
The major won't like that, will he?
Well, tell him I'll prove it. And anyway, I think Bowers will confess fast enough when the time comes.
When'll that be, Mr. Dillon?
When I get back to town with Billy Grounds.
What about the girl?
Well, it's like I told you, Chester. Nice girl, bad company.
You know, I had me a girl once.
Huh? Well, you never told me about that, Chester. What happened?
It was over in Abilene. I gave her my money to go to St. Louis and buy some wedding clothes. She wanted that.
So?
Well, I don't know, Mr. Dillon. I guess she just liked it there in St. Louis.
I'm going down the street, Chester. You better get started for the fort soon.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
Evening, Marshal.
Hello, Shiloh.
I feel another drunk coming on, Marshal.
Well, then check your guns back there with Chester.
What if the army comes tonight? I'll need my gun.
And stay sober.
But if the army doesn't come, I'll have stayed sober for nothing.
Every man's got his problem, Shiloh. But if I see you drunk and wearing your gun, you'll wake up broken-hearted in jail tomorrow.
Tonight I'm going to get drunk enough to draw on you, Marshal.
That so, Shiloh? Then some night you're going to die.
Marshal?
Oh, hello, Connie.
I got off a little early. Shall we go now?
Anytime.
I keep my horse at the National. I'll meet you at the edge of town.
Oh? You ashamed to be seen with me?
Oh, well, no, Marshal. But, well, you know how people talk.
Sure, Connie. I'll wait for you just down the trail.
I'll hurry.
There we come pretty fast, Connie. You want to get on for a minute?
I'm all right.
All right. We'll let the horses blow a little and then move on, huh? You nervous, Connie?
No. Why?
Well, then sit down and relax.
All right. This better?
Yeah. Sure is a nice night.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You're not even looking at it, Connie. Is something on your mind?
No, of course not. Why should there be?
I don't know. You tell me.
It's nothing, Marshal, really.
Connie, let me ask you something. You ever see a man killed?
What? Why'd you say that?
Well, did you?
Yes. Once in the saloon.
Huh. Tell me, do you have a fair chance?
Yeah, he even drew first.
Then you never saw a man shot in the back. Or ambushed.
What do you mean, Marshal?
I think it sort of goes against your grain, Connie, the idea of a man being killed without a fair chance.
I get it, Marshal. All right. Go ahead.
Down by the river near Brandy Bend, Billy Grounds is waiting to shoot me in the back.
Then why did you come, Marshal?
It's my job.
I suppose you know about everything.
I think so.
What are you going to do?
Connie, unless I made a mistake about you, I think you're going to let me have a fair chance at him. Somehow.
Why should I? What does it mean to me?
I don't know, Connie. I don't know. But you think about it. You think about it all the way to Brandy Bend. Now, come on, let's ride. Make a nice camp down here. Plenty of wood. Get your own water right out of the Arkansas. Don't you think, Connie? A man could hide out for a long time down here.
Marshal.
He could be safe here, even while the Army was trying to move into Dodge. A lot of men were being killed back there. It's peaceful here. Quiet.
Marshal, I can't do it.
Tell me, Connie.
That big cottonwood up ahead, on the left.
All right. Keep moving. When we get there, I'm going to ride fast. I'll hang on to the offside of my horse for cover. When I start, you turn around. Get back out of gunfire. Yeah, it sure is pretty down here, Connie. You know, maybe someday we can come down and go fishing, huh? That river's full of catfish. Did you ever eat a catfish dinner? Oh, they can be mighty good when they're small enough. Back, Connie. Connie? Connie? Yeah, he's dead, Connie.
I'm all right, Marshal.
I'm sorry about this, Connie. I'm sorry I had to do it.
He killed your horse. I'll show you where his is. And the money. Then you can take me back to Dodge. Jail.
All right, Connie. But you won't be in jail for long. You have my word. Not for long.
Let's go, Marshal.
Gunsmoke, under the direction of Norman MacDonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Tonight's story was especially written for Gunsmoke by John Meston, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Featured in tonight's cast were Michael Ann Barrett and Jeanette Nolan, with Harry Bartell and Don Diamond. Parley Bear is Chester, and Howard McNear is Doc. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. The adventure just begins with Gunsmoke on CBS Radio. Still ahead tonight, Gene Autry, Tarzan, Gangbusters, and Stars in the Air. Yes, listen in for them all on most of these same CBS radio stations. This is Roy Rowan speaking. And remember, for your free convention handbook, write to Time, CBS, Chicago 90, Illinois. This is the CBS Radio Network.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke.
Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal.
Howdy, Marshal.
Hello, Mr. Biggs. Can I give you a hand?
No. This is the last batch here. Hey, wait till the flies get to these buffalo hides in the morning and be enough vultures overhead to keep the place from shade for a week.
Yeah.
You know, you'll sure have your hands full by tomorrow night.
It looks that way.
When these boys turn them hides into cash, they'll bite the corks out of every bottle in town. And some of them look mean enough sober.
Yeah. Well, you better bed down and get some sleep, Mr. Biggs. Where are your boys?
I don't know. Jeff had some trouble with a dry axle up near Pawnee Rock, and Boaz stopped to help him fix it. But they shouldn't be this long behind me.
Well, if I see him, I'll tell him where to find you.
You can tell Jeff, but Boaz ain't even going to hear you.
Why? What's the matter with him?
Oh, he's riding higher than an eagle. You know that white buffalo you've been hearing about?
The albino?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just Indian talk.
Oh, you think so, huh? Well, if it is, Boaz sure shot himself a mighty scared buffalo. White as borax.
That ought to fetch a price.
Hey, anybody seen Marshal Dillon?
Over here, Chester.
You better saddle up, Mr. Dillon.
What's the matter, Chester?
Indian trouble. 2 men dead and a couple of wagons burned up out there. I found this.
A war rattle made out of buffalo toes. Arapaho. Well, they haven't been making any trouble.
Well, these did. I was topping a hill when I saw the wagons go up in fire. It was Indians, all right. I saw one ride off.
That's funny. I never heard of Arapahos attacking at night. How far out, Chester?
10 mile, maybe, toward Pawnee Rock.
Pawnee Rock? Marshal, my sons is coming from there.
Easy, Mr. Biggs. Lots of wagons in the territory.
Marshal, I didn't see another wagon between here and Pawnee except the ones we had, but the Indians killed my boys.
There's only one way to make sure, Mr. Biggs. Saddle up and ride over to my office. I'll be with you as soon as I can get my horse.
I cut back through those button willows over there when I spotted the wagons being fired.
We must be close to it, then.
Just over there. Right down yonder. See him?
Yeah. I see him. We rode up and dismounted. The last glint of hope in Mr. Biggs' eyes died. His boys were there, all right. And it wasn't nice to see.
Kill him. I'll get him, please. I'll murder every redskin in the territory.
We got to bring your sons in, Mr. Biggs. You know what the morning's going to be like. You don't want to leave them out here. Now, come on.
Hey, look. Down there by the stream.
Yeah, 4 of them. They're not saddle horses. Mr. Biggs. Mr. Biggs. You recognize those horses down there?
Yeah. I know them. Teams belong to Boaz and Jeff.
Indians must have cut them loose from the wagons before they fired.
Doesn't that seem curious to you, Chester?
In what way, Mr. Dillon?
Why didn't they take the horses with them?
Yeah. What are you thinking, Marshal?
No burned hides in those wagons.
So they stole them.
Yeah, they stole them. But Boaz and Jeff both have their rifles there beside them, and the horses are left behind, too.
Horses and guns are the first things Indians would go for. What are you looking for, Mr. Dillon?
Those buffalo hides weren't carried off without wagons. Yeah, here. Marks the 2 other wagons here, and they're fresh.
I didn't see any other wagons, only these.
Well, they'd finished and gone before you got here, Chester.
Well, yeah, but I'd have caught up to any wagons on the trail to Dodge.
Did you go by regular trail?
Well, no, I figured the Indian I saw wasn't alone. I didn't want to get bushwhacked further on.
You didn't see any Indian, Chester.
But, Mr. Dillon, just as plain
No Indian would leave guns and horses. This job was done by white men. It didn't take anything that could be recognized or identified.
You mean somebody's in Dodge by now? With the hides my boys worked and sweated to get?
I'm afraid so, Mr. Biggs.
Well, there'd be more than 300 buffalo hunters there by morning. Could be any of them.
We'll find the right ones.
Oh, how?
The albino. Whoever killed your sons will have that white buffalo hide. It was almost sunup when we got back to town, and more wagons had jammed the main street lining up for the unloading barns. I rode down the line, looking them over one by one.
Howdy, Marshal.
Some of the men would take their money, drink it up, and drift away. Few would stay long enough to be buried on Boot Hill. Then suddenly a wagon driver up ahead pulled out a line.
Oh, hey, wait a minute, Jim. Oh, hold it there. Take your hands off that team.
I'll take my hands off as soon as you get back to your place.
All right, now, wait. Now, let go of that bit, mister.
Don't do that, stranger. Get your hand away from that gun.
Well, now, knows any law around you.
There is, so don't try making your own.
You got no right grabbing my team.
I got plenty right when he tries to horn in front of me, Marshal.
That's a lie, Marshal. He cut
Never
in
mind.
before
You both want to cool your heads out in jail? Now, what's your name?
Tennessee's good enough.
A lot of people from Tennessee coming into the territory. Most of them are pretty peaceful.
That sounds like you're saying I'm not.
You move pretty fast for that gun.
Man can lose his temper.
You lost yours 4 times, according to the notches you've carved into that gun butt, but don't try for number 5, not here. How about you? What do you call?
Charlie Kell.
Charlie Kell, huh? They ever call you Chuck?
No,
Heard of a Chuck Kell a couple of years back, come from Kentucky.
not me.
Man I heard about was a gunfighter, so he never wore gloves. See, you don't either. It's pretty rough on the hands.
Thanks, Marshal. I'll make sure to take better care of him.
Yeah, do that.
I'll be around a while, Marshal. Maybe we can have another talk.
Anytime. They'd need watching. But what I wanted now was a white buffalo hide. Searching the wagons wouldn't do. There wasn't time, and a search had let the killers know that something in the hides they'd stolen could be identified. The time to find out would be when the buyers checked them. I got Biggs and Chester to cover 2 of the unloading barns, and I covered the 3rd one. And then finally daylight came, and the haggling started.
Son, you want to sell those hides? Better learn how to handle your skinning knife a little better.
They're as good as any.
And full of holes, they ain't. Give you $4 a hide for the bunch.
You gave that last fellow 8.
He looked tougher than you.
6. I'll take 6.
4. Take it or leave it.
You think you can rob me, mister?
Watch your mouth, boy.
Here, none of that.
Let me go!
Easy, son.
Go!
Let me have that gun just so you won't be tempted. There, that's better.
Give me that. Give it back.
You can pick it up at my office whenever you're ready to leave town. Yeah, you look like a city boy to me. Where are you from? St. Louis?
None of your business.
When something's got you beat, son, there's no shame to admitting it and going home. Sometimes that takes a real man.
Don't tell me what to do. Why don't you watch your own job? Why don't you leave me alone, Marshal?
I ain't got a white buffalo hide.
What'd you say, boy?
You heard me.
What do you know about a white buffalo hide?
What everybody else knows. That you're looking for one. Everybody in town knows it.
How?
Because the old man whose sons were bushwhacked is all liquored up over at the other barn, shooting off his mouth. Don't go away mad, Marshal.
Mr. Biggs wasn't at the barn where I'd left him. I cut through an alley to Front Street and headed for the saloons. I never got to him.
Mr. Dillon! Mr. Dillon!
What's the matter, Chester?
Old man Biggs.
Where is he? I'm looking for him.
Well, he was over by the barn I was watching, drunk, going through the wagon.
Yeah, I know about that.
I was trying to get him to go back to his own barn, but all of a sudden, he took off.
Or where?
I don't know, but there was one wagon he was watching in particular. The driver walked away from it with a package of some kind.
That white hide?
It could have been, I don't know, but Big sure thought so. He lit out after the fellow with blood in his eye.
Which way?
Down there where the boy's been hitching the empty wagon.
Well, let's go.
Old boy's drunk enough to make trouble. He's liable to kill somebody.
Or get killed.
Too late, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah. It came from there behind that row of wagons. You stay here, Chester.
Be careful, Mr. Dillon.
When I rounded the corner wagon, Mr. Biggs was sprawled across a wagon tongue, his eyes dead and open, staring at the ground. And standing over him was Tennessee, a smile on his face, and his gun extended to me butt first.
Looks like I'm in the mite of trouble, Marshal.
He's dead, Tennessee. That's more than a mite.
You take my gun for a while.
You mean until after you hang?
Wasn't figuring to be that serious. Not when a drunk follows me out here and throws down on me.
If you're figuring on self-defense, forget it. Look at his gun. It isn't even cocked.
Well, it's out of his holster, Marshal. That's enough. Law don't say I have to wait till he kills me.
You'll have to make a jury believe that.
No, I shouldn't have much trouble doing that, Marshal.
What are you doing here, Mr. Kell?
Oh, I just happened to follow Tennessee out here.
Why?
Well, you broke up our little argument in town. Thought I'd get him alone here. See if maybe he was still nursing a grudge he wanted to settle. But the old man beat me to it. Now, Tennessee here ain't exactly a friend of mine, as you know, but I hate to see any man hang when he ain't guilty.
Is that your personal verdict, Mr. Kell?
That's right, Marshal. The old man threw down on him, and Tennessee had to kill him in self-defense.
Chester?
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon?
Which one of them had the package?
This one. This is the fellow the old man was after.
All right, Tennessee, where is it?
I don't know anything about a package.
Look in the wagon, Chester. See anything?
Nothing here.
I reckon you can give my gun back to me now.
All right, Tennessee. Here.
Thanks.
But if you decide to use it again while you're in Dodge or any place else in Kansas, I hope I'm there when you do.
Well, now, don't you fret, Marshal. I'm sure you will be.
We will return for the second act of Gunsmoke in just a moment. But first, action, excitement, thrills. That's Gangbusters. Gangbusters helps to fight crime by fearlessly naming the criminals. Listen for it later this evening on CBS Radio. Now, the second act of Gunsmoke.
Just before sundown, we buried old man Biggs and his two sons up on Boot Hill. By the time the service was over and I rode down, darkness had fallen. and everything was going full blast. The town was roaring.
Seemed like a good man, old Biggs.
He was, Chester. So were his boys.
Yeah, but there are too many men like Tennessee and Cal coming in, Mr. Dillon.
They won't last, Chester. They'll keep coming, but they won't last. They'll take a gun and go against a man, but they won't sweat. They won't take root and build.
We still gonna look for that hide?
Yeah.
Well, just what do you want me to do, Mr. Dillon?
Tennessee and Kell will be in town, but their wagons are back there with the other empties. Ride back and look them over. Well, they might have had somebody carry that package off for them.
It might be, but they don't seem like partners, Mr. Dillon. From what I heard, you stopped them from gunfighting.
Took more than one man to kill the Biggs boys, and more than one man and more than one wagon to cart the hides in.
Well, you mean they staged that trouble just for you?
Just for me. After they heard I was looking for that white hide.
Well, why do you figure that, Mr. Dillon?
When gunfighters start for their guns, nothing stops them, Chester. They both started, but they both stopped. I reckon you better take a look through those wagons.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon. Where'll I meet you?
I'll be checking the saloons. One by one, I made the stops. The Long Branch, the Alafraganza, the Texas Trail. And one by one, they got quieter as I went in. As though each place was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The last place was a Mexican hangout. A long, dark walk.
Hello, Marshal. Can't see me, can you, Marshal?
No. No, I can't see you, son.
Too bad. Because I got another gun. They sell them around here. And I ain't going back to St. Louis.
You'll fire once, son, and if you don't kill me with that, and I'll kill you.
I'll gamble on that, Marshal.
Marshal!
He lurched from the shadows into the street, staggered, and fell. And then he rolled over on his back, and his eyes struggled for a minute like they were trying to remember something. And then he went blank. Well, he was right about one thing. He wasn't going back to St. Louis.
Well, what do you know? The marshal's real handy with a gun.
Stay out of this, Kel. But I may have something to talk over with you later.
Meaning what?
If you don't know it, then you got nothing to worry about.
I've been hearing a lot about how fast you are with a gun, Dillon. Anything to it?
I'm still alive.
Yeah. This your hobby, shooting kids?
He was old enough to try to kill me.
I don't like it, Marshal.
That's too bad, Mr. Kell. The Chuck Kell I heard about would have loved it. They said he'd killed 2 kids under 16, one of them his own brother.
No, you didn't hear the whole story, Marshal. The Kell you heard about killed a marshal, too.
You made the bid, Mr. Kell. And you got a gun. Use it or I'll take it away from you.
Come and get it.
Anytime.
Here it is.
How you feeling, Mr. Dillon?
I'm all right, Chester.
Doc fixed your head. Wasn't much he could do for Kell, though.
I hit him.
If you didn't, he sure died for nothing.
He was fast, all right.
Boys say you made him look like a sleepy burro. Never even cleared his holster.
And my head says different.
You didn't get that from Cal.
What do you mean?
Tennessee was up the street with a rifle. He creased you.
Huh? Where is he now?
I don't know, Mr. Dillon. He rode out of town before I could stop him. I was the only one who saw him. I was coming up street to find you.
All right. Let's get out of here. Did you find anything in the wagons?
No, sir. But I found Tennessee's wife.
Wife?
That's right, Mr. Dillon. In a small wagon next to his. He's a squaw man. His wife's an Indian girl.
Well, let's find her. All right, Chester. Which way?
Edge of town, Mr. Dillon.
Well, let's go. You talked to the wife?
Yes, sir. Found out Tennessee and Kel were friends, all right. They left her here night before last and arranged to meet her here today. She said they were driving empty wagons when they left her.
Ask her what tribe she belonged to?
Didn't have to ask, Mr. Dillon. I could tell by her beads. She's an Arapaho.
She was there, all right. Crouched by the wheel of a wagon. Her face was bloody, and she stared into a small campfire, rocking back and forth without a sound.
She wasn't beat up when I left her, Mr. Dillon.
Where's your husband?
He gone.
Gone where?
He gone.
Tell me which way he went, and I'll bring him back to you.
No. You lawman.
Your husband had a white buffalo hide, didn't he? Tell me.
No. Other man killed white buffalo.
Then your husband took the hide away from him?
Well, he buy. He buy hide.
He didn't buy him. He killed 2 men to get him. He killed with Indian paint on his face. He left an Arapaho war rattle. He wants the blame to come to your people.
If the white men think the Arapahoes are on the warpath, the soldiers will come.
No. Arapaho, peaceful.
Where's the white hide? What'd your husband do with it?
He tell me. Bury it.
Where? Where's it buried?
There. Back there. By tree.
Go dig it up, Chester. And then stay with her till I get back.
You going after him, Mr. Dillon?
As soon as she tells me which way.
All right, Mr. Dillon.
You're white man. No good. Now tell me which way he went.
You let him go. He not come back.
I can't let him go. If I do, the soldiers will come after your people. He beat you, and he ran away from you. Now he'll bring death to your tribe unless I get him. Where did he go?
He ride to where moon sleep.
I rode east. Tennessee had about an hour's start, but I figured to make up most of that before sunrise. The prairie was open and flat except for an occasional roll, and the Arkansas River would keep him from cutting south. His best bet for a fresh horse would be Kinsley, and I rode hard for it. It was just turning daylight when I rode in.
Well, howdy, Marshal. Morning.
Good morning. Got a place I can water my horse?
Trough right there. Just let him loose. He'll find it.
Thank you.
Looks like you come a long way.
Dodge.
Another fella here just a few minutes ago been riding hard, too. He come from up Pawnee way, though.
Tall, dark, riding a vinegar roan?
Yeah, that's right.
You get a fresh horse here?
Had to send my boy out the corral to get one for him. He'll be back soon.
You mean he's still here in town?
Yeah. Asked about breakfast, so I sent him over to the widow Hilliard's place. Right over there, across the road.
Thank you. I'll be back.
Say, you after that fella, Marshal?
Yes?
Understand you're serving breakfast, ma'am.
Why, sure thing, Marshal.
Dillon!
That's right.
Give me a clear way out the door, or I'll kill you.
Come by me, Tennessee.
I'll come shooting.
That's all right. But just be sure you get me this time.
Why, you...
You hurt, ma'am?
No, I'm all right, Marshal. He looks kind of dead.
Yeah.
Bad one, huh?
Yes'm. Gunfighter. Thief. Killer.
What's your name, Marshal?
Dillon, ma'am. Matt Dillon. I'm sorry about...
Marshal. When my husband brought me out here 15 years ago, Indians burned this place down 3 times. I'm used to killing. You want to carry him out? I'll go fix you that breakfast.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a long ride back to Dodge.
Gunsmoke, transcribed under the direction of Norman MacDonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Tonight's story was specially written for Gunsmoke by Joel Murcott, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Featured in tonight's cast were Stan Waxman, John Daner, and Larry Dobkin, with Sam Edwards, Lillian Baeff, Tom Holland, and Mary Lansing. Parley Bayer is Chester. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke.